Hello everyone, so in this video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on episode 10 and episode 11 of season 5 of Fear the Walking Dead, and I decided to make it in one big video because I was late with the last one. So it's going to be a long video, but I will put in the description below where to skip to if you just want to see my thoughts on episode 11. And apologies for being very sweaty throughout this video, but it's ridiculously hot in the UK again. And you know me by now, sorry, I can't deal with the heat anyway, so sorry about that, you'll just have to deal with it. So yeah, enjoy and let me know what you think in the comments below. Episode 10 is another bad episode of Fear the Walking Dead. I mean, granted, it's not the worst episode to come out of this season, but it's still pretty bad, and it still felt like an hour of my life which I wasted that could have been better spent doing practically anything else. The plot continues to move along at a snail's pace, if indeed it does actually move along at all, and once again, like I've said many times this season, you could probably skip this episode and not miss out on anything at all. The basic premise of this installment involves our protagonists going out of their way to help someone that they don't know, and who would have expected that? I mean, it's not like this is the basic plot to every single episode so far in season 5 or anything. Things begin with our charity workers receiving a message from a guy called Charles who is holed up in a mall, and basically he's been bitten and he says that he needs help with killing himself because he can't do it. Now, as you would expect, I have a lot of problems with this scenario. I mean, firstly, I think the fact that Charles would expect people to go out of their way and put themselves in danger to kill him is quite selfish, just because he's too scared to do it himself. I mean, if he's too scared to do it himself, then just die and let yourself turn. I mean, yeah, you'll be a walker, but you won't know anything about it anyway. You're not really posing an immediate danger in that mall because no one's there. Anyway, from what I can see, there's no other people there, so yeah, just if you're too scared, just die and turn into a walker. Don't expect people to put themselves in danger to kill you because you're too scared to do it. You could argue that Charles is actually helping our protagonist because he has supplies in the mall that they could use, but I just kind of doubt that if he hadn't have been bitten, you know, there's no way he would have phoned up Morgan and gone, oh hey Morgan, I've got loads of supplies here, you want to come and get them? I think he's only doing it for selfish reasons. Maybe that's just me because I don't know, maybe I'm a bit of an asshole, but I just think he's a bit selfish, really. Secondly, the fact that Morgan and Grace would even consider putting themselves in danger to go kill a guy who was already dying and who they don't even know is absolutely absurd. I could kind of understand them doing this if, for example, I don't know, let's say Luciana got split up from the main cast, then got trapped in the mall, and she phoned Morgan up and said, look, I'm dying, can you come put me down? That makes sense because she's one of them. She's family, you wouldn't want, you know, your friend to suffer, so that kind of makes sense for him to do that. But this guy is just a randomer. Why? Why are you going out of your way for him? You don't even know the dude. By all means, go ahead, go in the mall. If you want to go in the mall, get your bloody x-ray done, Grace, and take some supplies and then leave. But don't go and kill this dude, he's already going to die. Just get the supplies and go. Even if you do disagree with my view on this because you think that I'm evil and cold-hearted, I mean, you can't argue with the fact that going into a mall based on someone calling you up and you don't even know who it is quite dangerous considering what already happened with Logan. You know, what's to say this isn't another trap? This could have just been one of Logan's men phoning up Morgan saying, hey, I'm dying, can you come help me? And then they go in there and they're surrounded by them. This is quite a stupid thing to do, but our characters don't seem to care about their safety anymore. Later on in the episode, Morgan actually kind of tries to explain this away by saying to Dwight that we're not doing careful anymore, we're doing right. And this is basically Morgan turning to the camera and saying, hey look, none of this makes sense anymore. We're just going to go risking our lives based on every phone call that we get. Enjoy. I guess if you just want to switch your brain off and watch a show about some guy roaming around the country pretending to be a saint trying to save everyone, then great, this is for you. But for everyone else, this is just infuriating to watch. And what's even worse is that when Morgan, Grace and Dwight enter the mall, they see a walker matching the description of Charles. So they think that he's already dead and he's sort of down the stairs, down this escalator amongst a herd of walkers. So he's already dead, or at least they think he's dead, so just leave it. Just leave it, he's dead, doesn't matter anymore, get your stuff and go. But nope, instead they decide that they simply have to put this man down. Simply have to kill the walker, even though they don't bloody know him. It doesn't make a difference. As I've said so many times already in my videos this season, why should any of us care about characters who continuously put themselves in danger by doing stupid stuff? Morgan should already be dead by now. In fact, most of the Fear cast should already be dead by now. And it's really annoying seeing these idiots prance around, you know, putting their lives on the neck because someone rung them up or someone radioed them and said, hey, we need help, and they don't even think to themselves, could this be a trap? Could this be dangerous? No, we've got to do right. Let's go meet them. And it's really annoying to see these people alive when Madison and Nick are dead. And Madison and Nick were, you know, so much better than these characters, so much more intelligent and so much more sort of suited for this world, yet they're dead, and these sort of carefree, hippie charity workers, let's help everyone, are alive somehow. It's a nonsense. They would be long dead by now, and it's so bloody annoying to watch. I just don't really care about any of these characters anymore, and case in point, at the start of the episode, Grace falls to the floor, and I think the writers are sort of expecting us to watch this and think to ourselves, oh no, Grace has fallen. Poor Grace might be ill. How will she make it out of this? When in reality, I saw her hit the floor and I just thought, Grace is a bit poorly. Who fucking cares? I don't care. Kill her. Couldn't care less. And if you do like Grace and you think that I'm being a bit harsh on her, well, later on in the episode, Grace goes downstairs with Morgan, and I think to get to the X-ray machine, I can't really remember, and she sees what she thinks is Charles amongst the herd of walkers, and she just runs off to him, and she alerts the walkers, and they all chase her and Morgan, and the pair end up being trapped in a shop because of her stupidity. Why didn't she just turn to Morgan, who was like next to her, and say, hey Morgan, I think that's Charles over there. Wanna, take him out together with me? Instead of just running off like an idiot for no reason. Grace should have just told Morgan that Charles was there and the pair of them could have took him out together. But nope, instead Fear has to create artificial tension by making its characters do stupid stuff, getting them in danger. Watching this just makes me think, how have any of these characters survived this long in the apocalypse? There is some more shit that happens with Grace and Morgan during this episode, but to be honest, I can't be bothered to talk about it. It's dreadfully boring. And it basically just boils down to Morgan likes Grace, but he can't be with her because he hasn't got over the death of his son and his wife, and I can't be with you, Grace, because I'm a serious man, and I'm sad, and I don't care. Like, Morgan, how long has Morgan been this miserable bastard for who keeps talking about how he misses Dwayne, and I just don't care for it anymore. Okay, I guess after the end of this episode, there is the possibility that he and Grace might be together someday, but for now, he's still in exactly the same situation. He still doesn't want to do anything, still doesn't want to move on. He still wants to make up for the death of his wife and kid, and it's the same boring shit that's been going on with his character for years. And honestly, the way things are, I think it's set up for this cliche ending where Morgan reveals his feelings to Grace just as she succumbs to the radioactive cancer or disease, whatever she gets, and she dies. And then Morgan just carries on being a miserable bastard once again. And I don't care to see any of that. I don't care about Morgan's love life. I don't give a shit about Morgan anymore. In fact, I hope that Morgan dies of radioactive poisoning because he's poisoned the fucking show. I used to like him on Walking Dead, but God, he's so boring on Fear. Fear's so boring now. Anyway, away from Grace and Morgan, the rest of the episode focuses on Dwight, and it is slightly better, but not by much, really. Dwight's segment does have some promise. I liked how he purposely led Logan's man to him, and I also liked seeing sort of Logan's man burn the letters from, what's his wife's name, Sherry, and seeing Dwight's pissed off reaction, but the rest of it was a bit shit. The main issue that I have with Dwight's segment is that, surprise, surprise, come the end of the episode, he decides to spare Logan's man because apparently Fear the Walking Dead is a PG-rated show and no one can kill anyone. I really like Dwight on The Walking Dead, you all know that, but this isn't Dwight. This is just Morgan with long hair and pasty skin. In fact, everyone on the show is now Morgan. Forget I am Negan, it's I am Morgan. Everyone's fucking Morgan. No one can think for themselves. It's like a hive mind. I do get that Dwight has been through a war and a lot of time has passed since the start of the outbreak, so perhaps he isn't as trigger happy as he once was, but surely I can't be the only one who misses the old days of The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, when characters knew that certain people couldn't be trusted and that they had to be killed. Remember when Rick put a machete through that prisoner's head because he tried to push him into the walkers? Or how about when Madison clubbed Troy round the back of the head with a hammer because she knew he was too dangerous to be kept alive. I liked following Rick and Madison because they both had a dark side to them, and this made them interesting, and it also fit in with the post-apocalyptic setting because you have to do nasty stuff to survive. But Fear's current cast just think they can walk on through and survive by not getting their hands dirty, which is incredibly naive. Of course, I know that in The Walking Dead, Rick does eventually change his mindset and he spared Negan at the end of season 8. His mindset towards killing does change, but let's not forget it took an awful long time and an awful lot of development for him to get to this point, and also, not everyone else agreed with him. In fact, Maggie, Daryl, and the whole of Oceanside disagreed with Rick's mercy. Maggie killed Gregory, she hanged him in the first episode, and Daryl and Maggie watched on as Oceanside slaughtered the saviours who had killed their family and friends. However, like I said a moment ago, everyone on Fear has exactly the same mindset. They're all anti-violence, they all love peace, and not one of them is capable of independent thought. I accept that we don't want Fear to cover the exact same ground that's already been done in The Walking Dead, but to me, it would have been much more interesting if Dwight just killed Logan's man, because this would have set up a potential conflict with Morgan and the rest of the group. But instead he's just spared him because he thinks, oh, life is precious, and so does everyone else, and it's just bloody boring. Everyone is exactly on the same page and there's no internal conflict, which is odd considering how big the group is. I mean, you only have to go back a couple of seasons in Fear the Walking Dead to see that there were a lot of sort of internal conflicts within the group. I mean, Madison thought that Nick was too spontaneous and too sort of carefree, whereas Nick thought that Madison was too harsh and too violent, and the two often came to blows with their ideology. The characters used to be actual characters. They had individual personality and traits, but now it just feels like I'm watching The Cult of Morgan. Everyone is Morgan. Just get rid of everyone. Just have Lenny Jones playing every single character, because that's all everyone is. I mean, it would save the budget. You don't really need anyone else on the show. So yeah, there's not anything else that I want to say about episode 10. It's pretty bad, but not as bad as episode 11, which I'm about to talk about now. So have a quick break whilst I wipe the sweat off my head, and we'll go again. So, welcome to another review of Boring Pacifists Do Boring Shit, episode 11. There will be spoilers, but it doesn't really matter because nothing happens on this show anymore. Let's begin. So this review will be quite brief, especially compared to the episode 10 one that I just did a moment ago, and that's because I found that when writing this, I just sort of was writing stuff that I've already covered before, and that's because it's the same complaints that I have every episode, because Fear doesn't change or improve, so I don't want this to be a long video about stuff you already know, so that's why I'm trying to keep it as short as possible. And also because I don't really want to talk about it anymore because I'm losing the will to live. Once again, this was another bloody awful episode, and if you're still watching the show, I recommend that you give up and stop wasting your time. And speaking of time, here is a clip of Logan doing an impression of a clock for some reason.
Tick. Tick. Tick.
Either that or he's just a big fan of the Hives.
Tick. Tick, 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 tick.
I mean, just when you think things couldn't get any stupider, this happens. You got your villain going tick-tock, tick-tock. In the first episode, I thought that Logan had potential to be a pretty badass and cool villain, but now he just reminds me of Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor in Justice League, who was an absolute joke. Anyway, this episode follows two separate groups of characters, the first being Morgan and Al, and the second Alicia Strand and the dude who turned up in his motorbike a couple of episodes ago, Wesley. So let's look at Alicia's group first. Things open up with Alicia hugging a tree before Walker appears to crash her little nature party. Alicia then turns into a damsel in distress, screaming, "Strand, help me! Help me! Take out this horrible monster! I'm so useless, I can't do it myself!" Or something like that, and Strand comes along and kills the Walker because Alicia needs a big strong man to help her because she's only a little woman who can't do anything. Why ruin Alicia like this? Alicia's main goal this episode is to find the person who's been writing the notes on the trees that she's been humping, and it's a goal that I personally couldn't give a shit about. I know that some people have been speculating that it might have been Madison who was writing the notes on the trees, but Nope, it turns out that Wes is a poet and a writer and it's him. What a fucking anticlimax. Now this is just a personal opinion, but I am 100% confident that Chambliss and Goldberg knew that when people saw these trees, they would think it might be Madison because we didn't actually see her die, we just saw her surrounded by walkers and then it cut off. And, you know, if you don't see someone die on any show, there's a potential that they're still alive. And to me, having it be Wes is such an absolute troll move. And that's not because I have anything against Wes, it's just because these trees have been featured so much during the last couple of weeks that anyone with half a brain would assume that it must have been written by someone important to one of our main characters, or at least someone from one of our characters' past. So for it to be this guy who was introduced 2 weeks ago is an absolute piss take, to be honest. To me, it just stinks of absolute arrogance on Chambliss and Goldberg's part, and it reminds me of how D&D were and how their attitude was on Season 8 of Game of Thrones. And I think that Chambliss and Goldberg should not be allowed anywhere near Fear the Walking Dead ever again. I am genuinely surprised with how bad this season's been that Season 6 did get greenlit, but AMC, it's not too late to let these two go. Let someone else do it, because if Season 6 is like this, it's going to be the last season you get out of this show, because everyone's had enough, I've had enough, and I don't want to review it anymore if it carries on like this. And I think they might actually be worse than my friend Scott Gimple. And no, Scott Gimple's not in this video. Sorry, it's just too hot to be Scott Gimple today. Wes accompanies Alicia and Strand for much of the episode, and they drop him off at what looks like an old police station of sorts, where Wes shoots some random old hobo because it turns out that this guy stole his manuscript. The guy who Wes shot escapes, albeit injured, and Alicia and Strand decide that they simply have to save this random guy because apparently they're some kind of ambulance crew now who have to help everyone who's injured. However, sadly for them, they get surrounded by walkers and get stuck in the building, so then they ask Al and Morgan to save this random guy. Does this scenario sound familiar to you at all? Because it should, because this is exactly the same kind of bullshit that's been going on in every single episode so far this season. Our characters run into someone who's injured or dying or needs help, and they decide that, oh, they simply must have to save them, even though we as viewers have no attachment to any of these characters at all. I don't care about this random guy that Wes shot. I don't need to see our characters go out of their way to save him. I don't know who he is. In fact, I was hoping that he did die just so someone could actually die on the show, because no one seems to kill anyone anymore. As I said a moment ago, Wes shooting this random old guy links into Morgan and Al as they take on the responsibility of trying to find him, and it's at this point that they run into Mr. TikTok the Clock. And I am now of the opinion that Logan is an absolutely awful villain, and that's not just because of his clock fetish, but also because he is just an absolute pushover, especially when compared to past villains on Fear and The Walking Dead. I mean, yeah, he captured our protagonist's little hideout in the first episode of this season, but then he just left peacefully after he couldn't find what he wanted, which was a major letdown because I was hoping for some kind of battle. And he then joined our characters at the end of Season 5A, only to be humiliated and left on the side of the road. And in this episode he comes face to face with Morgan and Al and asks them for the location of the oil fields, and he doesn't do anything when they refuse to give him the information. Instead he just makes a little jab at Morgan and says something about his wife and kid dying, and that's it. You know, what kind of villain is this? Can you imagine if Negan asked for something and it wasn't given to him? He would kill a member of that group to send a message to make sure that he was serious. But Logan, he's got all these guns, you know, he's got people with guns with him, but he doesn't do anything. I think the worst thing Morgan has done, the most villainous thing we've seen him do, is shoot some guy's motorbike. Oh no, not the bike. Logan is embarrassingly pathetic for a Fear the Walking Dead villain, especially compared to past characters like Troy and Proctor John. So what if he steals Al's tapes at the end of the episode because he thinks there might be some info about the oil on it? Whoop-de-fucking-do. Am I supposed to be shocked by this truly awful, heinous crime? Oh no, someone's stolen some tapes. Oh, how villainous, how evil. I have absolutely no interest in watching a bad drama about a group of truckers and a bunch of charity workers arguing about some oil fields, because that's all Fear the Walking Dead is now. The only positive things that I can say about this episode is that at least Wes does seem interesting, and at least Alicia is back to killing walkers now, but I still stand by the fact that the showrunners shouldn't have made her into a scared little girl in the first place, because now she's just back where she was before that happened, so that kind of plot point was entirely pointless anyway. And basically I'm just left thinking once again, what is even the point of this season at all? We got half a season dedicated to saving some kids, and the kids haven't even showed up since, so that was absolutely pointless. And now the second half of the season is just about people arguing over oil. Who thought this was a good idea for 16 episodes of television? I just don't know what else I can really say, and that's one of the reasons why I just didn't want to do this review during my week off, because I had much better things to do than talk about this shitty show, and it's just the same thing every week. It's just awful, and it's not going to get any better, and I've still got 5 more episodes to do. So let me know what you think about this episode and also about episode 10, and yeah, did you like it, or did you dislike it as much as I did? And whatever your thoughts are, please let me know below. Hopefully it cools down a bit because I'm very hot. But anyway, take care, see you later. I hate this show. I hate that I agreed to review it all. Bye bye.